Hello and welcome back to the continued reading of The Puzzle, A Gift from Spirit with Kelly Allen. And today I'm just going to be focused on one chapter, and that chapter is titled Here to Help. And as always, I'll dive in with just a few quotes and then begin the reading of the chapter. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in a gray twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt. He who trims himself to suit everyone will soon whittle himself away. Raymond Hull. Don't be afraid to go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is. The hardest challenge is to be yourself in a world where everyone is trying to make you be somebody else. E. E. Cummings. Risk more than others think is safe. Care more than others think is wise. Dream more than others think is practical. Expect more than others think is possible. Cadet Maxim. Here to help. As we begin to release our fears and empower ourselves by taking full responsibility for our lives, and as we begin to live our lives on purpose, there are always people in the wings watching us as we take the leap of faith. Should we encounter any failures or disappointments on the road to success, some are waiting for the opportunity to say, "I told you so." It's unfortunate that these people focus on and only see the disappointments and the challenges that we face, and their own fear prevents them from seeing the successes and the rewards the challenges provide. They seek reassurance for their own fear, which continues paralyzing them and preventing them from realizing their own dreams. These passive observers always seem to have plenty of discouraging words, cautionary advice, and perfect 20/20 hindsight on behalf of the risk takers. I've had to make it a point in my life to not allow the naysayers to dissuade me from the path as I journeyed onward, choosing instead to have an incredible life filled with amazing people and experiences and enjoying tremendous personal and spiritual growth. There are many I've encountered who, in the belief that they are helping, have warned me of the pitfalls of going into business for myself, or being too considerate of others, of letting people get too close, of taking too many risks, etc. The very actions I've been warned against over and over are what have resulted in some of the most challenging, yet also the most satisfying, growing, and rewarding experiences of my life. I love this saying, life is not a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." Another old adage is misery loves company. Many who are paralyzed by fear and who are unable to move outside of their comfort zone would prefer to reinforce their present state of being and commiserate with you to keep you in this camaraderie and fellowship. Without realizing it, they may react to their perceived powerless condition and offer you their sage advice with what they may believe is in your best interest. Some may consciously attempt to discourage you for fear of losing your friendship in the state to which they've become accustomed. Others may be serving a higher purpose in challenging you and providing you the service and the gift of a life lesson. I've been very fortunate to have a soulmate, friends, and family members that have consistently supported and in many cases shared my dreams. In life, however, a lesson I've learned the hard way is that I cannot and I am not required to befriend everyone that crosses my path. There are people who will come into our lives for a season, and there are people who come to stay. The hardest thing to do is recognize when the lessons we need to learn, to teach, or both, have run their course and it's time to move on. Individuals may come in and out of our lives more than once, and sometimes they may be short-lived and then just go. It isn't our responsibility to continually provide maintenance on any relationship alone without the other person involved participating. And our inner spirit, if we're listening, will let us know when it's time to no longer dedicate energy into a particular relationship. At times, making decisions and taking action that is in the highest and best interest of all is not always easy, but it is always the most rewarding. This doesn't mean we depart angry or harboring ill feelings. On the contrary, it allows us the peace to wish him or her the best and to let go. He or she may or may not be back in our present lifetime for our mutual benefit and joy. Why is it that those in our lives who tell us that we need to be more assertive and say "you are too nice" are often the ones who are most guilty of abusing our kindness and generosity? I've often been told in both my dealings with people in my personal life and in my business ownership and management practices this very thing: you are too nice. In my businesses, I've often been told that I should just say that I am the boss and should not have to answer the question why from employees in response to any decisions I make. I've been very fortunate in my life that I've had an amazing employer for a number of my young years who made it clear that he didn't like to be called boss. This is a quality I learned from him. He would always maintain an open door policy, and I was always free to ask questions. If I made a request, the answer, whether yes or no, was provided with an explanation. I was also consistently provided with clear expectations, and I was given the opportunity to make mistakes, as long as I took responsibility for them and did whatever I needed to do to correct the situation. The opportunities and the empowerment offered to me by this employer provided a great deal of the self-assurance I possessed moving forward with confidence. It also fostered the ability to take greater risks in life and experience the growth and successes that I've enjoyed. Sure, my life might contain fewer complications if I took the military approach to my management style, but I could then be depriving an individual the growth opportunities that I was given. I know the rewards I've gained from the experiences and rewards of acting as a mentor rather than a militant boss far outweigh the inconvenience. It's important to remember that those unable to overcome their own fears who give you their, quote, advice concerning your risk-taking usually sincerely believe that they have your best interest in mind. They may have insecurities that cause them to fear vulnerability, and therefore they want to protect you from exposing yourself to hurt as well. They may identify with material possessions to such an extent that the loss of such, quote, wealth would be devastating to them. Because of this, they project and fear on your behalf the loss of your possessions and therefore your identity. Sometimes there are just unhappy people who prefer others to remain in or be reduced to their state of vibration. In some cases, jealousy comes into play too. Always, when you have discouragement presented to you, it is driven by fear. By understanding this, we can bless those who are acting in or reacting to fear and hope that our example will inspire and motivate them to rise above it. In doing so, we'll fulfill our purpose in this life. There have been friends in my personal life in the past that I dedicated myself to wholeheartedly, believing that I could help them share the internal joy that I possess. No matter how much I tried to encourage and support their self-empowerment, they insisted on living the life of a victim and refused to partake in the joy of life. Of course, there would be brief moments of victory and happiness, which were then followed by severe guilt-driven depression or self-deprivation. I would find myself exhausted at times and not only unable to help them, but also negatively affected by my own self-centered depression, guilt, or discouragement in response. The lesson I needed to learn, and hopefully have, is to let such friends go with love and compassion, and knowing that I had given all I could give at this point in my life and on my path. I'm often reminded of the metaphor of the gardener hastily pulling on the petals of the roses in the garden, trying to rush the process of the flower's destiny to bloom. Individuals, just as each individual rose, will blossom in their own time. The best I can offer is the hope that seeds have been planted and fruit will be born that in the future we can share together. Perhaps until I've learned to liberate myself from the attachments to an expected outcome in their lives, they will continue to serve me in the capacity that they've chosen so that they can teach me the lessons they're in my life to convey. In the meantime, there will also be those who will be receptive to and supportive of the positive energy exchange needed for our mutual and continued growth. In physical exercise, we understand that strength cannot be attained without resistance. We can purchase equipment containing resistance bands that have been shown to provide the most effective workouts and results. Yet as we move through life and encounter challenges or people that we perceive as difficult, we are quick to judge the experience as against us. The very resistance we encounter may be what is needed in our lives to provide the contrast, not only for our purpose of exercising our spiritual muscle, but also for providing greater understanding and possession of the qualities known in the Bible as the fruit of the Spirit, which are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Sometimes, as I mentioned previously, the lesson is to learn to discern when we need to remove ourselves from the influence of a person or situation. Other times, the lesson may be to persevere in patience and long-suffering. Once we have completely surrendered to Spirit and we move into a place of love, the apparent, quote, problem will resolve itself in unexpected ways. Sometimes the person or persons that we have in our lives to challenge us and teach us will suddenly move on and disappear from our lives, leaving us with the victory of learning and growth that they came to teach and to provide. When we move in Spirit and when we fully embrace the situation, we then learn the lesson that we're meant to learn, and we're rewarded with the quality, again, the fruits of the Spirit, that we're meant to acquire. And we'll see the person we thought we were teaching appear to experience an incredible breakthrough in their own personal empowerment and growth, and realizing the amazing lessons that they've taught us in the process as well. And the onward and upward development continues. As I continue my journey of growth and experience, I try to remember that when I am being charged by the higher vibration of teaching, the kindness and support of others, even when it comes in the illusion of problem situations or people, to consider the energy I'm returning to them, and to reciprocate the positive energy and the love that they share in the lessons that they're teaching me.